Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and it's another edition of my favorite Christmas songs here on MisplacedDraws.com. And my guest today was on the site last year when he released just a fantastic record of Frank Sinatra covers. He's back now with a holiday record in the same vein called Christmas Classics New and Old. He's also one of the great guitar players of generation through his work with Alter Bridge, Creed, and Tremonti. Please welcome back Mark Tremonti. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And so the Sinatra record, it kind of took everyone by surprise when they heard it. And when we talked, you had mentioned how much you really enjoyed recording it. Was a Christmas record in the same vein, just kind of a natural follow up for that classic sound?
Yeah, I wanted to create a record that sounded like it was, something that we heard as when we were kids, something that was recorded in the 50s, same style. I didn't want a modern Christmas record. I wanted to sound classic.
Yeah. And with the exception of one special song that we'll talk about in a minute, these are all classics. Did you listen to a lot of different versions of these songs to kind of find where you wanted to take them, or did you already have a sound in mind?
Yeah, no, I would listen nonstop to every single version that existed of these songs that I could find on YouTube or any kind of streaming service. And some of the toughest ones were "Oh Holy Night" and "First Noel" because they're sung so many different ways. There's so many different versions of the lyrics and the arrangement. So I wanted to take my favorite. Some songs would have a certain little key change or a certain chord that they ended phrases with that I wanted to incorporate. And I think tried to come up with the best of all my favorite parts of all the different versions.
And the one new song you wrote for the record, Christmas Morning, it fits in perfectly. In fact, when I first listened to the record before reading any of the notes on it, I actually went and looked up to see who did that song before because I don't remember hearing it, but yet it fit in perfect. Now, you've written so many songs in your career. What was it like to not only step out of your comfort zone into a Christmas song, but to also write it in this style?
That it was definitely a challenge. It was something that my father had told me decades ago. You should do a Christmas song, and I think it's a legacy piece that will live on beyond you. And I said, you can't really do that as a rock and roll guy. It's not really that acceptable unless you're doing a funny, heavy version of it. But then when I did the Sinatra thing, I said, and when I put the record out, a lot of people said you should do a Christmas album, and that's why that's why I had the idea to do it. But when I was practicing singing like Sinatra, I challenged myself to write a big band jazzy kind of thing, and that's the first song that came out, and it just happened to be a Christmas song, and I was writing it maybe in July. It wasn't something that was happening at Christmas. It just kind of came out, so it was one of those happy mistakes.
And now you actually have a live holiday show coming up in Florida that benefits the National Down Syndrome Society, which, as we spoke before, is near and dear to your heart. Talk a little bit about that show, what people can expect, and how people can get involved in NDSS.
Yeah, so it's on December 16th here in Orlando. If everybody wants to check it out, it's on the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center's website for tickets and seating. And that night, we are celebrating the opening of the Smile with Stella Tremonti Down Syndrome Clinic, and that's at Advent Health here in Orlando. And it's the first lifespan Down syndrome program in the Southeast. So it's our most, as a family, the proudest moment we've ever had to be able to do this because it's affected so many families already. But all the proceeds from the show are going towards that clinic, and I think we've already raised I think $150,000 in VIP tickets and whatnot. So we're sorry, I got something in my eye, but we're really excited about it. And we've had 50, I think 17 brass on stage. I think a whole string section, a choir. And this is the only time this year we're going to be able to perform these Christmas songs. So we're really looking forward to it. And there's a new song that we didn't do on the Christmas record. A couple, I think 3 Christmas songs that aren't on the record that we'll be doing live.
Fantastic. Sounds like it's going to be a great night. And again, for those of you watching this on the actual website, we'll also have a link to the National Down Syndrome Society and some of the charities that will benefit from this, so people can look into them themselves and hopefully give as well. Now, when you were growing up, was Christmas music a big thing in your house? Did you guys listen to a lot of it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, my favorite memories are being at my grandparents' house, listening to Christmas music and playing hide and seek with my cousins and trying to, find where the presents are hidden. And, Christmas is, yeah, it's one of the most magical times of our childhood. So that's why I wanted to create the album to sound like it would have come out in those days. And the music video for Christmas Morning is also, the claymation stop animation like the movies that we watched as kids. And I wanted to create that whole vibe.
Did you have any, favorite Christmas records that you always went back to? Were you like a Phil Spector kind of guy, or were you, a Burl Ives kind of guy?
I like, Andy Williams is one of my favorites. Frank Sinatra, of course. Donny Hathaway. You know, uh, all Nat King Cole is the king. He's incredible. Gosh, there's so many. It just goes on and on. There's just certain songs that you've never heard somebody sing before that they've just done that one song that just sticks with you. There's so many of these old school songs that they're irreplaceable. So when I did this record, I tried to stay as true to them as possible.
You mentioned Donny Hathaway, and you do a version of This Christmas. How was it taking a song like that that's so identifiable, but yet bringing it into this sort of, you know, Sinatra jazz world? What was it like doing that arrangement? 'Cause it's great.
I was very I was nervous to do that one. That's a tough song to do, and it's to do it any credit. So when I went into the studio with that one, I practiced a lot on it, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. And at this Christmas show we're doing here in Orlando, I actually have Scott and Brian from Alter Bridge and Creed coming up to perform the rhythm section for that tune. So that'll be a good part of that show. I'm looking forward to.
That's going to be fantastic. When we talked before with the Sinatra record, you actually used some of Frank's band on that record. When you were putting this together, did you use some of those same musicians? Did you get, different people coming in for it?
Yeah, it was all the same brass. Maybe there was one or two different folks, but mostly guys that toured with Frank Sinatra. And then we added 23 stringed instruments. And I don't know how many of them had performed with Sinatra because he didn't do a lot of the big symphony stuff a ton. He did the more of the jazzy brass stuff. But and then we brought in a percussionist and a choir. So there's I think there was 52 musicians in all on the Christmas record, and it was it was a big to do. I loved it.
Yeah, and you mentioned how when you do the live show, there's going to be a couple of songs that weren't on the record. Do you think we'll see a part two to this? Because there's so many Christmas classics out there, and listening to this, you could tell you had fun doing it. I think that's the main thing that comes across when I hear you do this stuff. Is there going to be a part two eventually?
I hope so. These have been some of the most fun and exciting times I've ever spent in the studio doing the Sinatra record and the Christmas record. It's when you're a recording artist for I don't know almost 30 years now, it's fun to mix things up and do something new, and it makes it exciting when you get back into the rock world because it's you get the best of both worlds. So any excuse I can get back in the studio with these guys, I'm going to do it. So hopefully Christmas Volume 2, the Sinatra Volume 2, and I want to keep on going with it.
Definitely looking forward to all of it. And you have a busy time coming up too. We mentioned the Christmas show coming up in Florida. In January, you have a bunch of dates. Will those be kind of Sinatra dates that you're playing?
Yeah, there'll be Sinatra dates. I'm not going to play any Christmas songs after Christmas
Yeah.
because people don't like Christmas when it's not Christmas.
And then after that, of course, the big news coming up for 2024 is the return of Creed. And I'm sure I'll have you back when that gets a little closer to talk more about that. But just generally, how does it feel for you now to go back and just see that after all these years, the just outpouring that came from this announcement, and everybody is just so excited by it. How's it feel for you guys to know that people still care that much?
It's amazing. When we talked about it, we didn't know how the response was going to be, and when we put the cruise on sale, the cruise folks at Six Man said this was one of the fastest cruise they've ever sold out, and
Mm.
that kind of got us excited to announce the tour. And when the tickets for the tour went on sale and did so well, we knew that it's the proper time to get Creed back on the road. So we're excited about it.
Definitely. I think we all agree with that. And you mentioned a little earlier how, it's not that easy to do a rock Christmas record. There have been a couple good ones over the years, but a lot of them kind of get, comes out and kind of gets put by the wayside. Do you ever think, I mean, because again, you play with some fantastic bands and some great singers. Do you ever think maybe you would do a rock one, or do you think your Christmas stuff will stick mainly with the Sinatra big band vein?
Yeah, I'll stick with the Sinatra Big Band vein. That's the kind of Christmas music I love. If it's Christmas time, I'm not putting on a rock Christmas record. It's I'm not putting on King Diamond, No Presents for Christmas or Twisted Sister. Those are great. Those are great albums, but I wanna listen to the stuff I heard when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's funny. I just did an interview recently with Mickey Thomas of Jefferson Starship and Starship, and he has a new Christmas single out now too. And he said the exact same thing. He said, these are classics. That's what I grew up with. That's what I want to listen to. And it's funny how things are really circular, and it seems like those classics are coming back around again. For a while it was all new kinds of things, but over the past few years, it's been really great to see people kind of go back to these original classics and just give them some new life. I mean, they're classics for a reason.
Yeah, I mean it's just like the American Songbook that you can have the same song performed by dozens of different people and it's going to be excellent. It's good to hear everybody's takes on it. And same the Christmas music is the same. It's timeless, like you said. Anybody can do it, and it's great to hear all different artists perform the same song.
Well, we've been spending some time here with Mark Tremonti. The new record is called Christmas Classics, New and Old. It's out everywhere now. It's on streaming. I highly recommend it. As I mentioned to him before we started, I've been listening to it pretty constantly since I got a copy. So, Mark, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to do this. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon when things start heating up in 2024 with Creed and anything else you have going on.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Have a great one.
You too. Bye
Merry
bye.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.